The People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216,
Freeview Channel 236,
and YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio,
with the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Start the day with GB News.
We catch up on all the big stories you didn't hear the night before.
And take a look at what the world's talking about this morning. That's right, Monday to Thursdays from 6 o'clock. It's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Straight after breakfast, join us, Bev Turner and Andrew Pearce. We're going to take you through till noon.
We'll be tackling the big topics of the day, including the things that the other channels just won't talk about. If it's happening here. Wake up to mornings on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
New to GB News is the Saturday 5.
Join us every Saturday from 8 p.m. as we debate the week's stories.
Right, folks, that was a spicy one, wasn't it?
With us four, plus a special guest.
Sometimes she has to stick her foot in it. Sometimes she has to say things as they are.
Sometimes I think we should keep the refugees and send the pensioners to Rwanda. Then we'd be in a much better state.
Well, Benjamin, that is...
The Saturday 5. Saturday nights from 8. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
You're with GB News, it's 11 o'clock. In a moment, headliners. First, let's bring you the latest news headlines. And Scotland's First Minister Humza Yousaf says he'll oversee the SNP's finances after Colin Beattie today resigned as Treasurer as police investigate the party's accounting. Mr Beattie is the second person to have been questioned by police trying to establish how more than £600,000 given in donations and set aside for an independence referendum has been used up. Mr Yousaf has tweeted following the resignation, offering his thanks and adding the decision was in the best interests of the party. Tonight, the Prime Minister has been urging unionists in Northern Ireland to return to Stormont, saying restoring devolved institutions is the best way forward. Rishi Sunak was speaking alongside other world leaders in Belfast to mark 25 years since the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. They concluded the anniversary celebrations with a gala dinner at Hillsborough Castle tonight, where the former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, praised the people of Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland is a world away today from the Northern Ireland defined by bombs and bullets that I grew up with. So, the people of Northern Ireland are remarkable people. They're people of strong convictions, on occasions stubborn ones, but always redeemed by the qualities of a good heart and a creative mind.
Former Prime Minister Tony Blair speaking there this evening. Now, an inquest has ruled the death of a doctor after his AstraZeneca COVID jab was due to unintended complications of the vaccine. 32-year-old Stephen Wright was an NHS psychologist in south-east London. He died from a blood clot to his brain 10 days after his first dose of the vaccine in January 2021. The coroner described it as a very unusual and deeply tragic case. AstraZeneca says it is saddened by Stephen's death. His widow Charlotte told GB News earlier on this evening more support is needed.
To push the vaccine out so quickly, the government said that they had to indemnify, therefore knowing that there will be adverse reactions. So I think one of our kind of things that we've been trying to say is that if you knew that before you rolled it out, then where was the support for the people that you knew would be adversely affected by it? So it should have been in place before.
Labour is accusing the government of denying justice to victims of the infected blood scandal. Between 19 Thousands of people were infected with HIV and hepatitis after being given contaminated blood products. In an interim report, the chair of the inquiry recommended that reparations should be extended to include bereaved parents and children. Cabinet Office Minister Jeremy Quinn told the Commons the government is considering that recommendation. And lastly, the supermarket giant Tesco says it plans to appeal after Lidl won a High Court battle over branding. Lidl argued Tesco's use of a yellow circle on its club card logo was an infringement of their main store logo. A judge agreed and found in favour of Lidl, saying it was a violation of their trademark rights and copyright. You're up to date on TV, online, DAB+ radio and on the TuneIn app. You're with GB News, the People's Channel. Time now for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Leo Kearson. Joining me tonight to go through Thursday's newspapers are expert story sniffers Lewis Schaefer and Steve N. Allen. How you both doing?
I'm okay. I'm actually really excited about today's stories.
That's good to hear. Steve, are you as excited as Lewis?
I'm more shocked by you bringing a positive attitude. I don't know what to work with now.
That's the new me.
Anyway, that's the awkward small talk out of the way. Let's have a look at Thursday's front pages. The Telegraph leads with Russian spy ships threaten to sabotage UK energy supply. The Eye has UK faces 5% interest rates after failing to tame inflation. The Guardian has senior MOJ officials ready to quit if RAB survives bullying inquiry. The Financial Times has inflation stuck in double digits offers little hope for end to cost of living crisis. The Daily Express has we must unite to protect women's rights. The Daily Star has flat earther. The earth's not as flat as we hoped. And those were your front pages. We begin with the Telegraph. What's on the front cover there, Lewis?
Well, this is the Russian spy ships threaten to sabotage UK's energy supply. And this is basically, it's a fear-mongering piece about how the Russians are looking to destroy our energy. I wonder why. Why? Because we blew up their pipeline. So, of course, this is going to happen.
Well, I mean, in fairness, Russia had been doing some other things that might have been in the news. You might have noticed.
They might have been, but they probably weren't going to blow up our supply if we left their supply alone.
I don't think we blew up the Nord Stream gas pipeline. That was either Russia or possibly America, depending on which crazy conspiracy theorists you believe.
I think we, meaning our side, fighting this thing.
The West.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in here, Steve, is the fact that wind farms. So we've built all these wind farms that provide us with, allegedly safe, clean energy, and they're the ones that are vulnerable because a Russian ship can just drive up to them or sail up to them because they don't have wheels and chop the cable, and then no more wind energy.
Very true. But the other alternative was buying in some of that stuff from Russia, which feels like Russia had some sort of control over as well. So I think if you just look at it as in, it's not the most secure form of power, neither is buying it from Russia if you're worried about Russia.
There are other sources of power. We could have built nuclear power stations.
Yes, and we should have been doing that for the last 2 decades because they take a while to build, so now it's a bit late going like, has anyone got some nifty small modular thing that has to use thorium? So we're a bit late to the game on that one. But it's a mixture, though. You don't hate the wind farms.
I do.
Love the whole collection of different power supplies.
I hate the wind farms, and it's not as if the wind farms are not vulnerable, but it's also, if the Russians cut the cable...
Yeah.
And it's going to be immediately felt. There's no more electricity coming out because the cable's cut. And there's a boat right there, the Russian boat. The Russian boat's going to be destroyed. Yeah. So it becomes a suicide mission. So they're not going to.
Well, I'm not sure if we would enact justice that swiftly. But I mean, we can see here. So these are Russian boats that are passing themselves off as research vessels or fishing trawlers. There's a picture there on the Telegraph of a guy with a machine gun and a balaclava who doesn't look like he's going to shoot any fish.
Well, I don't know how much research you're partaking of. I did an undergraduate research studentship in chemistry. And I was tooled up. just in case. 'Cause you never know when it's all going to kick off.
That is just how science is done these days. We've also got there the story about Braverman given powers to ignore the ECHR.
Yeah, which to me is a surprise because I didn't realize because we're not in the EU anymore, why should we follow the ECH? When I say we, I mean America. Why should?
Well, apparently Britain signed up to the ECHR and helped found the ECHR way before the EU was even a thing.
Yeah.
So, but it does mean that the flights to Rwanda will be able to take off because the ECHR won't be able to stop them.
Yeah, what? The ECHR isn't able to stop them now because the ECHR...
Well, the ECHR did stop them.
No, ECHR has no troops. They've got no soldiers.
Yeah, but the trouble is, we're in a law-abiding society where we tend to listen to the courts.
And if we don't,
jurisdiction over us.
They'll turn up and just cut the cable, and the next thing you know, we lose those 3 megawatts of power.
Yeah, can we cut the cable to the ECHR? That might solve everybody's problems. Anyway, what's on the front cover of the Financial Times, Steve?
A couple of interesting ones. India posed to outstrip China. This is in terms of people, in terms of number of people living there. They're going to overtake and become the most populous country, which means, if there's a one-on-one football game, they've got enough to mark and still score. I'm not sure how much this is a big story, because then if you look at further down on the front page, they say China's economy will still be massive in comparison. I wonder if that's actually the more important thing.
Well, I think as we're moving into a new phase of global politics where China is sort of trying to become the new superpower, replace America. But it's going to be stymied by the fact that they had the one-child policy for so long. So you're punished. You weren't allowed to have more than one child, which helped their economy for so long because people weren't distracted by raising children. They could just go and work down the pit all day long. But that means that there weren't enough children to be workers now. And I think we're going to see China decline, whereas India, which is a free and democratic country compared to China, it doesn't have that problem.
No. What it means is that India is going to decline a little bit further in the future because India's also population is going to be dropping soon.
Well, at some point, everyone's population is going to drop.
Not everyone.
It kind of has to because there's a lot of people. I don't know if you decide.
There are some places that population will continue to grow. This is a nightmare for China because there won't be people who to pay. There won't be young people. What happens is it becomes too expensive. Each young person has to pay a bigger and bigger part of the old people's pensions.
Yeah.
And so
it's like a Ponzi scheme.
It's like a Ponzi scheme. And why would you bring a child into the world knowing that your kid's going to have to work for old people? And it's not going to happen.
You also do fix that by increasing retirement age. So old people work towards paying for themselves for longer.
Yeah, you try getting that through. Look what happened in France.
Look what happened in France. But it makes sense. It's not like the only way to do this is to mean that young people will have 110% of their income taken to pay for old people. Well, there are ways to fix it.
That sounds like a Tory policy.
But by the time that's done, Steve, is that the young people there'll be even fewer children born because you've got to be crazy to bring a child into this world knowing that they're going to be slaves to old people.
All of these predictions are based on how the economy works right now, and then later on we'll be talking about how no one will have a job thanks to AI. There'll be different ways of building in. Like, people worry about getting to like 10 billion people on the planet. People worried about previous numbers, then it was always fixed with technology in some ways. Necessity really makes the technological side of things step up and go, oh, we'll fix that rather than all starve.
Yeah.
So I still have faith in there being options.
Yeah, he's an optimist. I'm a Jew.
And talking of optimism, there's not much optimism for inflation. It's still stuck in double digits.
Yes. Oh, this is still over. It's just over 10%. But it's more worrying about food inflation because you can pretty much avoid buying a new telly. You can avoid buying all the other things that go up. It's not great for the economy. It slows it down, but that's what they try and do. But food inflation is painful. Around 16%. I saw the other day. So this is the interesting thing, though, that people are still blaming this a little on quantitative easing. And I remembered, Leo, when we were on the show months ago, you explained beautifully how quantitative easing produces extra money that ends up in assets.
Yes. Yeah, it tends to flow into fixed assets.
So that would give you asset inflation. But what we're really struggling with right now is food inflation over and above average inflation. So what's the mechanism that gets it from increased house prices into increased pint of milk?
Well, I don't know, Steve. I wish I'd had some time to prepare for that question. It's like a politician getting caught.
No, that's why I didn't tweet that earlier as well. I think we need to research it. It was a good point.
No, Leo knows the answer. But the answer is this.
I'd like to hand over to my spokesman.
Okay. By printing so much money, it deflates the currency. The currency is the US dollar that deflates. All oil is exchanged around the world in US dollars. So because our currency, the US dollar, is deflating, it then means that the oil producing countries have to raise the oil prices.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we haven't seen a huge deflation in house prices and fixed asset prices, so they're still incredibly high. But now, other assets are going up as well. Assets that we use, like if you go and buy a lettuce, or if you're Scottish, a Mars bar, then they're going up in price. And it was, part of it was the energy crisis, and everything was costing more to produce, right from the farm. The price of fertilizers and everything like that went up. But I think now, also businesses they're taking the opportunity to gouge and not reduce the prices. Because we want to take less money.
They definitely are, because we accept it, don't we? Oh, that's gone up in price. And unless you get the calculator out and work out the percentage, you just blame it on 10% inflation.
Yeah. You know what? That is the most ridiculous thing. As if these companies weren't greedy and wanted to get money back in the day. It just so happens this year they've decided to make money. Before that, they weren't interested in money at all.
Yeah, but things go in trends, and also food was incredibly cheap by historical standards,
and it
for a long time, and it still is to a certain extent.
And what makes it expensive is that people are buying the most worthless, pointless food that goes bad. So it's like all you need to do is you need to have a simple diet of red meat and eggs.
Yeah, red meat and eggs, the cheapest things in the supermarket.
They're not the cheapest thing, but collectively, you know what the cheapest thing is? The most expensive thing is a piece of broccoli that you buy, and it's cheap initially, but you throw most of it out because you don't eat it.
What did broccoli do to you, Lewis? This is what I want to know. Anyway, Steve, let's quickly have a look at the front cover of the Daily Express.
Yeah, they've got the headline, "We must unite to protect women's rights." This is two rival MPs joining forces to make a statement saying that we should defend women's rights. Do you know what? This is one of those stories where there would be such an easy way to frame this that everyone would agree with, because defending rights makes sense. As long as you're not saying, and it's because of what your side did. The argument that happens on trans issues seems mainly online fueled by two things. One is, if you say anything against trans issues, some people, the loud ones, go, that's transphobic. If you say anything questioning the other side, some people go, that's misogyny. Yeah. Just take those two out. Most of that group, I know I've said this before, but I honestly believe most people would agree on, no one wants male rapists in women's prisons.
But they aren't considered...
No, go on.
They aren't considered male. So this statement here is automatically offensive. You think it's all benign and stuff, but the trans movement people would say we are protecting women's rights. It's a different kind of woman, and they need to be protected. You're seeing women's rights against men.
But I think it creates mechanisms that predatory males, by which I mean all males, can exploit to get access to women's spaces. And we're seeing pretty horrific, and I think genuine trans. Everybody knows that a genuine trans woman who looks like a woman and has put some effort in. Nobody's trying to stop Blair White from using the women's toilets, and it wouldn't ever be an issue for Blair White because she looks like a woman. What it's an issue for is when you get these lumpy, weird blokes in frocks who want to go into the women's changing rooms. It's like, no, we've created a mechanism that allows that bloke to go in.
But I'm saying there's a way of framing that you can actually have the discussion where you're right. Both sides would agree on the areas that need attention, but you don't get to those because you kick off the fight first.
No.
That's how it happens.
No, it's not, because the way you're presenting it is people will say that there are so few of those cases of a big burly guy going into prison, gaming the system, maybe. Is that they're not really they don't think they're a woman. They're just thinking, wow, this is a way to get out of that thing.
Yeah, this is a better prison than that.
This is a better prison, and I can hang out with these women and do bad things. But the number of people, a lot of people think that that's just such a small thing. It's a red herring. Would you call it a red herring? It's a red herring. It's a non-issue. And you keeping on mentioning this, it seems benign, but to them, they think to themselves, holy cow, this is wrong.
I think one incident of a big burly bloke going into a women's prison is one too many. Anyway, time for some sponsored messages, but join us in mere moments for Miracle Soup, Fat Brits, and Fat Council Fat Cats. See you in a couple of minutes.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit up.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you. She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
Start the day with GB News.
We catch up on all the big stories you didn't hear the night before.
And take a look at what the world's talking about this morning. That's right, Monday to Thursdays from 6 o'clock. It's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Straight after breakfast, join us, Bev Turner and Andrew Pearce. We're going to take you through till noon.
We'll be tackling the big topics of the day, including the things that the other channels just won't talk about. If it's happening here. Wake up to mornings on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me.
So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We've got a brand new lineup every Saturday night on GB News.
From 6 p.m, I'll give you my unique take on the world today.
Then at 7, it's me, Calvin Robinson, with my Common Sense Crusade.
New to GB News is the Saturday 5.
5 times the opinion. Join us every Saturday from 8 p.m. as we debate the week's stories.
With us 4, plus a special guest.
And at 9, of course, it's Mark Dolan Tonight. Brand new Saturday nights on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Leo Kearse, and my trusty, crusty Lewis Schaefer, and my handy-dandy Steve N. Allen. We've got Thursday's Times next, and apparently you can cure diabetes by giving people a good shake. Is there anything that physical violence can't fix, Lewis?
Well, you know what? You might want to hit him in the head and say you're eating too much. It's the Times. It says soup and shake diet can reverse diabetes, according to the Diabetes Remission Trial, clinical trial, DIRECT, which was funded by Diabetes UK. And Diabetes UK is like, I think it's the main diabetes company organization in the country.
Making diabetes.
Asking them to talk about diet is like asking Bill Gates to talk about vaccines.
But they're world-renowned experts.
Yeah, it's basically what they're saying is that they put these guys on an 800-calorie-a-day diet for 3 months.
That doesn't sound like very much.
It isn't very much, and that automatically cures diabetes.
So were these big fat people?
They must have been fat people. They had type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And when
that's the one that you sort of get through lifestyle or...
Yeah, by
you
eating...
sort of develop it rather than being born with it.
What happens is when you're fat, there's no room to store the sugar that's in your bloodstream. So the sugar in your blood has no place to go, but stays in the blood and just wreaks havoc. But when you lose weight, it frees up the fat cells,
right,
so that you can eat the same amount of food. Well, you can't eat the same amount of food. You're eating so much less, and it gets dissipated. So losing weight is the surefire way to stop being diabetic. But 800 calories, you can't keep it up for very long. And that's what happened with these people.
Well, I don't know. Some of these people, the size of them, I mean, they could go on a hunger strike and the doctor would give them 17 years to live. Steve, what do you make of this?
Yeah, firstly, it's not just any soup and any shake. We should say that. It's not like a cup of soup and McDonald's vanilla milkshake, because you'd still be fat then. But look, it was in Canada a couple of years ago. They did some research and spotted that if you do a really calorie-restricted diet, you can get rid of some of the symptoms that are associated with type 2 diabetes. This is just saying that if you do it for a long while, keep the weight off, you're effectively in remission because you don't need any medication. Yeah. This is a 5-year period that they look at. I don't think you were fully spot on. I don't think it is just to do with fat cells, it's to do with insulin levels, because they used to call type 2 diabetes insulin deafness, and it resets the way in which your cells respond to insulin. Look, it's good news, isn't it? I don't know why you'd hate this. This is great. You go on the 2-part, the 5-2 diet, and it gets rid of...
Well, I'll tell you the bad news. The bad news is it's costing the NHS £1,100 per patient. How's it costing us money to get people to eat less? Yeah. We're prescribing soup to them? I mean, that's not... You don't get soup from the pharmacy. What's going on? Just tell people to eat less. If anything, that should save us money.
And there are 5 million of them. No, because Steve happens to be wrong about this. Is the insulin, when you have no place to store this is just my theory.
So your theory versus a trial by scientists.
Yes. These people, no, I know enough to know that these people are wrong. And you don't have to believe me. I'm just some,
No, you're right.
But Lewis, you're wearing a suit. Don't put yourself down like that. You're probably an expert. Anyway, staying on the theme of fat people, in The Guardian, they've revealed that fat people aren't just an eyesore, they also cost us money, Steve.
This is the nanny state has been blamed for the reason why they've not sorted out the problem of obesity. This is the problem with our political system, that politicians effectively have to win a popularity contest every 5 years, and telling people, oh, you're not allowed to eat that, is not popular. So they've not, and that's why we've just got big.
Right.
And you're blaming the government for the reason people get big.
But hang on, I'm not past the baton yet. All right.
This is so annoying.
Still a bit bad and backy. But they're right. I don't want the government telling me what to eat, but I don't mind the government saying what Procter & Gamble can't mix the chemicals together and sell me. And it worked with a sugar tax for drinks. Because I didn't want to pay extra for drinks, but actually it just made the companies reduce the amount of sugar and stuff. Right. That's not bad. I've not noticed the difference. And if anything, I'm having fewer calories that way. So that would be a win. Lewis.
Steve, you're an idiot.
Why? Are you going to elaborate on that?
I'll elaborate.
Is this according to your research?
I'll elaborate it, because number one is, I don't want the government to tell me what I can and cannot eat, because they will tell me that I cannot have any protein, that I can't have any meat and eggs. They will say that that's cancer causing or diabetes causing. They're total lies, okay? I don't want Boris Johnson, who is fat himself, telling me something.
Good news on that one.
What, has he lost some weight?
No, he's not Prime Minister.
He's not.
Yeah, but Rishi, who's a whippet of a man.
A whippet of a man who never understood, who probably has type 1 diabetes. He's so skinny. And I don't want him, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. Maybe you do. I'm smarter than these people.
OK, pushing on through Lewis Schaefer's mental breakdown, we've got the Mail now. And as council tax rises, it's revealed that some local authority staff raked in more than £500,000 last year. Steve, tell us about this profligacy.
Yeah, so this is the Daily Mail, so I always worry. They're just trying to get us to hate more people. But then you look at the amount that these people are getting paid. There are people getting paid more than Rishi Sunak, more than the £156,000. Do you reckon he even notices that he gets paid that? If he looks at his current account, he doesn't even notice it moved, does he? But you look at some of the money. The Guildford Borough Council, someone there is receiving over £600,000.
I mean, that just seems insane. These are, because they're running. It's supposed to be a public service.
Yeah, and normally the argument for paying people loads is, well, you want the best and the brightest. Yeah. Nah, I reckon other places are doing all right, paying way less. So maybe you don't have someone earning 0.6 million.
Yeah, when it comes to the public sector, you don't really want the best and the brightest, because you want them going somewhere where they can actually do some good. You just want somebody who can follow the processes, collect the bins, keep the streets clear, and whatever else, local authorities do.
Yeah.
Lewis, what do you make of this? Do you regret not joining the council?
I regret calling you what I called you. I want to apologise to you.
That's fine. Do you know what? Somehow it didn't even affect me.
Well, it affected me that I said it.
That's fine.
Is that the fact is, back in the day, people used to work for the council. They used to work for the government. They used to work for the state. And they got paid less money but they wouldn't be fired. They'd have a secure job.
And they'd get a pension.
And they might not have an arm. They'd be able to get a job if you don't have an arm because you lost it in the war or something.
Yeah.
And then whatever. But now they make more money than the private sector, and they have more rights and more security. So something is wrong there.
Something is wrong. Anyway, finishing this section with Thursday's Guardian. And Lewis, is this conclusive proof that young people are annoying?
Well, this is an interesting story because it goes to the heart of the matter. It says half of LGBT plus young adults in the UK are estranged from a relative, and I think they mean maybe the family, their brothers or something. And
that's usually what relative means.
Yeah, but I mean, what kind of relative?
Somebody you're related to.
It depends how big your family is, and it says that more than a third of non-binary people and of transgender people are not confident they would be accepted if they came out. That's a lot of people who.
But that's not really estranged. They don't feel confident they'd be accepted. But that's just, I think if you ask people if they're confident about anything, a third would be like, I'm not confident about it. I mean,
do you think they should have asked, are you speaking to your family?
Yeah, I think there should have been a much more objective thing than feelings.
Well, there's also research on that. 46% of LGBT plus people are no longer in contact with one family member.
All right.
But I'd love to know what the general populace number is, because I grew up not knowing half my family, and I don't think I'm gay. In correlation and causation, I don't know. I might need to go off and check. But a lot of this data is not useful unless you know what it compares and contrasts to. You're not making a link. It's not necessarily saying that there's greater family breakdown.
And also LGBT. I mean, it used to mean that you're lesbian, gay, bisexual. Now it could mean you're non-binary or just something that's made up. Or queer is something that people say now, which doesn't mean anything. It just means you feel, you could still be, explicitly heterosexual, but you feel like you identify as, part of the spectrum, which people do because they want to be trendy. And those people are generally pretty annoying. So, if somebody's going to have special pronouns, you're going to want to avoid that person because they're going to be a narcissistic windbag.
You've got to play this clip to your kid where they've grown up, just so they know whether to come out to you or not.
No, she's getting homeschooled. There's no way she's going to get taken in by this gender woo-woo cult.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, and people come out as asexual now. That's part of the LGBTQ2 SSA, whatever it is, plus.
Yeah.
And nobody's discriminated against for being asexual. Asexual people are doing exactly what every dad wants a kid to do.
Yeah.
So, nobody's, what are you doing up there in your bedroom? What, you not doing anything? Not under my roof. Under my roof, you're going to have sex with someone. I mean, that's just an absolute nonsense. Anyway, let's move on. We've got another section biting the dust there, but after our commercial partners tell you what of their wares, we've got racist football badges, racist cars, and racist French influencers. Well, they're not racist, just really annoying.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage. Here on GB News, we will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
You've probably seen politicians interviewed 1,000 times, but we do it differently. We find out who they really are, we don't shout, we chat, and hopefully we bring a bit of light, not just heat.
Did you
All
know Kate
sorts of
Moss?
women. Apparently.
Do you have a pair of jeans or a pair of jeans?
No, of course I don't. What would I do with them?
My friends are like, oh my God, what's she doing now?
Join me every Sunday at 6 for Gloria Meets, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Member of Parliament for North East Somerset and a former government minister. For years, I've walked the corridors of power in both Westminster and the City of London. We need to have the arguments, the discussions on how we make it better.
Crop failures, famine, war, suffering on a scale completely unimaginable.
We are putting the cart before the horse. As Charles I said at the scaffold, he was the true defender of liberty.
Yeah, I've completely derailed the conversation.
Join me Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
On GB.
Welcome back to Headliners and straight to Thursday's Telegraph. And Steve, never mind the 4-minute mile, an ultramarathon competitor has done a 1-minute mile.
This is my favourite story. This is a British ultramarathon runner who was disqualified for using a car. It's against the rules. Who would have thought? It says that cheating. To be fair, though, it is still a very impressive feat for a female athlete because she managed to park. I'm kidding, but it's old school. It's old school. But there yeah. So look, you're right. It was like a minute or something they managed to do a mile in. Beautiful. Then she said that it was an error that she took the award for third place. Oh, you know what it's like, erroneously get in a car and then accidentally get a medal around your head. But to be fair, at the same time, if you could use cars in marathons, I'd do more of them.
Yeah, and it'd be more fun to watch as well. And maybe you call it Formula One, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the sad part about this story is that she only finished in third place. I mean, if you're going to use a car.
Yeah. Apparently, she only took the lift because she got lost and ran the wrong way, developed leg pain. Maybe it was a more painful road that she was on. So then a friend offered to give her a lift. And she was only detected because everybody uses these trackers, GPS trackers now. So yeah, they could see there was a segment where she ran at an incredibly fast speed.
Well, in her actual defence, though, she also did tell one of the stewards or marshals, whatever, oh, I used a car, and they said carry on.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the bit before you handed the award for third place, you'd mention it again.
Yeah. But on the other hand, the rules for these races are very complicated. You know, maybe she didn't know she wasn't allowed to use a car.
Yeah.
You know, some rules have different things.
It can be difficult. Anyway, the Mirror next, and Lewis, Manchester's football teams have been accused of having links to slavery. Yeah. How many knees will they have to take to fix this one?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, my team is up. That's one of my teams, which is Stockport Town. 10th team, Northwest Counties Division, whatever. Is that Manchester United and Manchester City, their badges, which is for people in other countries, they're like the symbol of the
They have badges in other countries, don't they?
I don't need no stinking badges.
We can see the badges there, so you can see it's got a ship on it, and apparently that's a link to that's a slave ship. I mean, you can't see little people on it.
Well, first of all, I mean, there's two real problems with this. One is that I don't think that they had those kind of boats in Manchester. All the boats landed in Liverpool. In Liverpool, there were no big boats that go.
Liverpool and Manchester were very closely linked commercially.
Yes, they might have been, but that doesn't have anything to do with these boats. And secondly, it says those weren't even slave ships, as far as they know. They were just part of this trade. And so the newspaper article said is that Manchester is part of a complex mix of stories. The association with ships, which played a crucial role in importation and use of goods made largely by slaves. And anybody knows the triangle trade thing is that Britain made the stuff, and it was shipped to America, where slipped to Africa, whatever it was, and then Africa took the people to America, and then the Americans took the molasses cotton up to. So they're totally wrong. about this.
I mean, Steve, it does seem. I'm not sure if I understand, but it does seem strange that a picture of a ship on a badge is automatically linked to slavery. Like anything on that badge would be, there's a golf ball. It's a slave golf ball. I mean, this seems a bit of a reach.
I think there's a Venn diagram thing that lets this down, because it's not as if every ship has to be linked to slavery.
Yeah.
Some ships wouldn't be, so you can't ban all ships.
Yeah.
In the same way that you've rightfully pointed out a link between cotton and slavery, but it doesn't mean you're never allowed to wear cotton ever again. So look, they're saying they want to have a discussion about this. Manchester's just having an interesting time having these discussions, isn't it? That's what's happened there. But I care little about football, so have the talk if you want. But raise that point that it's not as if all ships are 100% overlapping on that Venn diagram with slavery.
Yeah, I think it's about time we stop calling everything racist before we run out of things to call racist. Anyway, staying with the Mirror now, and a German newspaper used the power of technology to interview a celebrity in a coma. How is everyone not happy about this, Steve?
It is unbelievable. So there was a Schumacher interview. He's not spoken to the press since the accident and then being at home, having round-the-clock care. And this German magazine said, I've got an exclusive. Very exclusive. No, not even Schumacher was aware of it. How does no one flag this in the planning meeting? Got an idea, I'm just going to get an AI chatbot to pretend to be Schumacher. No, maybe don't do that, because that's really sick. But also, maybe we should worry about where this is going to lead to, because now you can just interview anyone who's dead, anyone who says, no, I don't want to speak to you. Oh, that's right, I'll get ChatGPT to fill in all the blanks.
Yeah.
So we're really losing any sense of what journalism is. It's the German magazine Die Aktuell, which is a gross title.
In credit to them, the title sounds like they would publish that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in credit to them, it wasn't just a reprinted press release.
Yeah. No, but did anybody fall for this? It was AI that generated.
Well, at the end of the article, they say, by the way, we generated this using AI, but that doesn't make it any better, really.
No, and not only does it not make it better, it just proves that the Mirror is a problematic publication, is that they should say it in the front interview, faked as magazine slammed, and just say by AI, and this is the problem of AI. But they waited till the very last paragraph, and that's very.
Isn't the magazine worse?
Thing. Yeah.
But the magazine's worse because it was on the front cover saying effectively buy this magazine and read this interview. Then you get to the end of the interview and realise, this was all a dream and Bobby Ewing stepped out of the shower. Whereas the Mirror just has it as one of their headlines. You've already bought the paper and I'm defending the Mirror on this.
So Mirror, good. German newspaper, bad. Moving on to the Times, and what's racist today? Today, Belgian number plates are racist, Lewis.
Well, this is something that's very close to British people's hearts, because you see everything in a number plate, and it says that the Nazi. This is an article in the Times that says Nazi number plates slip under the radar on Belgian roads, and that they're noticing that the Nazis are putting in symbols of the Nazism things that people aren't noticing.
Yeah.
Right? But what is the point of that? What is the point of having a vanity, we would call it in America, vanity license plate, that you pay top dollar for, that has symbols in it that don't speak to anybody? You want to say, I am a Nazi.
Well, maybe other Nazis, be driving along in your little Beetle, which, I think was developed by them. But, you're driving along and you see a number plate that says, I heart Hitler or whatever it is. And you think, and you toot.
Yeah, you let them out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing some of these things. I mean, this does look like it is actual codified Nazi symbology. So they've got HH88. So the HH is Heil Hitler, and 88 is the I think H is the 8th letter in the alphabet or something.
Right.
Or something
this
like
is
that.
The problem with Dan Brown, isn't it? We're all getting a bit too obsessed with symbols. But no, you're right. They do look like they're really saying that message, and they should have been caught. Just have one session where you sit down and go through all the different possible ones and think, what should we ban? But at the same time, it's not as if because now they're bringing a new law where you can confiscate a number plate.
Yeah.
But if you take away a Nazi number plate, still a Nazi. It's not going to solve the basic problem here. It's just going to hide it from the front and back of cars.
Yeah, and also, what if your name's Harry Hiller and you're born in 1988 and you want to commemorate that with a fancy number plate? You're going to be, not going to be able to do that.
And the problem is, if you stop doing this, you're taking away money from the state. Is that each of these license plates costs the individual €1,000.
Right.
Whereas in New York State, which is the greatest state in the greatest country, whatever in the world, is if you want to get a license plate that says "I love Hitler," if they let you, it's only £45. $45.
So it's much cheaper to be a Nazi in New York. I have seen some ridiculous claims of codified fascist symbology, like the Canadian truckers. You know, they're honking their horns.
Yeah.
I think, I can't remember which CBC, like some left-wing government-run media outlet said, oh, this is codified. They're honking their horns because that says HH, which stands for Heil Hitler, which is obviously an absolute nonsense. They're just honking their horns because it's fun. Anyway, moving on, we've got the Mail now, and most photos on Instagram have more filters than a Chinese internet provider. But in France, they'll have to keep it real. I guess we'll see some more of the women's moustaches now, Steve.
Yeah, they're bringing in a new law. Well, you can face 2 years in jail if you don't point out that you're being paid to plug some products. Look, and part of me agrees that you should point out if you're being paid for something online. But 2 years in jail seems a bit harsh. We're going to get a lot of selfies in orange outfits and a lot of mid-shiving, stuff like that.
And they're going to have to smuggle those phones into the... And phones are big now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand in the 90s smuggling one of those little phones into Belmarsh, no problem. Trying to smuggle an iPhone 14.
Do you know what I never understood about that? You know, the smuggling via the Nature's Pocket, I believe that's how it's referred to. Small phones make sense, but those chargers, they're still 3-pin plugs.
Yeah.
So I'll
need one
do
that
that.
folds in, is my advice. Lewis,
Too late now.
Do you ever Photoshop yourself on social media?
And try to sell a product? Well, I'm always trying to sell products. We got our calendar coming up.
What are you selling today?
I'm selling my calendar, which is the 2023 calendar, which is actually made. This
Why don't you
is just
show
an
us
example. That's our calendar.
You're supposed to be naked, aren't you, in the calendar?
In the calendar, there's some images of me naked on a horse and whatever.
Oh, right.
And
You have to pay extra to get the clothes version.
It's been designed by Lucy Harmon. It's so funny.
How much does it cost?
It's going to cost, I think it's going to cost $23 or $22.99.
More price gouging.
Inflation. Before we move on to this story, can I just say, in the article, they point out French reality TV star Maeve Guénon has got 3.3 million, and she's been criticised for posts promoting labioplasty, but that's not been found to break the law. So why did they include it in the story?
They just wanted to say labioplasty.
Yeah, just lip service.
Anyway, we've got a final few ads now, but come back after the break for our last section madness with cat killers, flat earthers, and armpit hair. See you in a couple of minutes.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
First and foremost, I'm a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News has its own late-night paper preview show, Headliners, where comedians take you through the next day's top news stories. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper, we've got it covered for you. Headliners, every night at 11 p.m, and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians
to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Hello, I'm Calvin Robinson. Do not miss my Common Sense Crusade Saturdays at 7 p.m. Join me for some in-depth discussions on faith. Is that not the start of the slippery slope? It's very much so. And the big moral questions of the day. I'm baffled.
You've got some nerve.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners and straight into Thursday's Telegraph with some bad news for gerbils. A cat-killing competition has been called off. I can't imagine why, Lewis.
Well, because people hate cats. I love cats. Probably he likes dogs.
But then why would they call it off?
They would call it off because this is in news. First of all, it's in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And those people are very woke.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't use the word woke. They're very caring. They care about everything.
They care about cats, apparently.
And they care about cats. And they've been offering to pay young kids under the age of 14 cash to shoot feral felines. But, of course, they're under 14, these kids, and they probably have no moral values because they're kids and they're horrible. And they've been killing all cats. And the fact is, cats, you can't tell what cat is a feral cat. They're all feral. They're all wild.
Well, so they shoot first, let God sort it out.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's the worry? Not that it's wrong and probably damaging to get all these kids to go out there and kill loads of cats, that some of them might be, oh, this pet cat over here, you know, I also want some pocket money.
Yeah.
There seems to be a few holes in this plan. I mean, getting children to shoot things, for a start, that's probably quite a bad idea. Getting them to shoot cats. I mean, it seems like they're trying to breed a generation of Jeffrey Dahmers. And I'm not a cat person. And I understand that they do need to cull the cats because they're not native to New Zealand. They're causing all this ecological devastation. But I think it should be done by a trained professional with a shovel.
Well, also, kids surely aren't a good aim. So this is going to be bad news for any animal down at cat height.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people missing eyes. Anyway, the Daily Star now, and it makes its first appearance in the show, and it's about how the lizard people who control our holographic reality have managed to fake a laser gyroscope, Steve.
This is brilliant. For some reason, they've gone front page with this, but some flat earthers managed to get enough money to buy a gyroscope, because if the Earth is a sphere and it's rotating, gyroscopes don't like rotation, so you'll notice a drift in the angle, and they calculate it 15 degrees per hour so it can do a whole one. And they were sure what they'd do is they'd get this laser gyroscope, measure no drift, and then be like, look at that, you idiots, thinking it's a globe. And they measured it, and it came out at 15 degrees per hour. And they then said, well, clearly something went wrong. We'll go back and see what we did wrong. This is the problem with being a flat earther. The bias is, let's do an experiment to prove me right. That's not science. Simple as that.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it did prove that he wasn't right. We just saw a picture of him there with a globe, and I think the laser gyroscope behind him. I mean, Lewis, what do you think? Do you think the Earth is flat? I think the Earth is flat and hollow. Yeah. I've combined 2 conspiracy theories.
Nice.
It might actually be hollow, but can I?
How does gravity work then?
Can I? I don't want to. I'm not going to disagree because I don't think the Earth is flat. I think it's very exciting. There's lots of exciting things. There's war going on. There's COVID. There's everything. It's not flat.
Yeah, but they don't mean flat like old Coke.
Yeah,
it looks flat.
Well, that was my joke that I was making. But I want to praise this dude for using the word it's a sphere, rather than saying the Earth is round.
Oh, because it's not round. It bulges in certain places due to, adipose tissue distribution? I don't know. You've probably got an answer for it.
There is an answer. It has to do with like the aurora borealis and the electrical stuff that's coming in from the sun. It goes to the northern part. And it is possibly, not hollow exactly in the middle, but it could be hollow.
It could possibly be hollow. We're going to find out later. Anyway, the Mail next, and your days as a silver fox could be numbered, Lewis. And it's not because New Zealand school children are going to shoot you.
Well, I have become a silver fox. Unfortunately, I'm dead in the road, being driven over by cars. I've become very good looking in my old age for an older woman.
Geez, what did you look like before?
Oh my God, I was not good looking because my hair was very black and it went grey almost overnight.
Can you tell us a story?
Yeah. My hair was grey. My hair was black and then went grey overnight when I stopped coloring it.
Right.
It just went like that. that was a joke. It was a cure. This is a non-story. This is a cure for grey.
This is a story.
No, it isn't a story because
Tell us
number
the
one
story.
is a cure for grey hair on the horizon. Scientists discover the mechanism for color change in breakthrough that could allow us to reverse it. Which means is they just discovered what causes it. That doesn't mean we're going to be able to change it. And
it's a step towards it. What I think, though, Steve, is, I mean, they're using stem cells to fix grey hair.
Yeah.
Stem cells can be applied to fix anything, like cancer,
Yeah.
you know, anything. You can use stem cells to grow any type of cell, and they're using it to fix grey hair. Not even baldness, grey hair.
Yeah, it's cheeky, isn't it? I mean, it's the easiest thing to solve as well. You just stain it, or whatever you call it, dye it. Whereas, all that cancer stuff is a bit harder to fix, so maybe you should focus your efforts on that. But I suppose it is understanding how stem cells work, so it might be a step in the right direction. No scientific knowledge is wasted, but it would be nice if the order, fix the stuff that kills us first, and then gives you nice hair.
And the truth is, grey is a warning sign. It basically says yuck. I know you think I look amazing with grey hair, but I'd give anything to have jet black hair.
Right. Well, let's hope you can get some of those stem cells. Anyway, we've got the star again with some huge news. A Hollywood star has grown hair in her armpits, Steve.
Yeah, this story is Rachel McAdams praised over beautiful armpit hair. I don't know why newspapers obsess about actresses' armpit hair. I remember, it was quite a few years ago now, Julia Roberts waved on the red carpet and we had to talk about armpit hair for 3 weeks. And I get it. Normally you don't see it, and then you do see it. Why do we care? I'm like, the people who say it's disgusting are wrong, but the people calling it beautiful, what kind of fetish have you got going on there?
Also wrong.
It's just armpit hair. Just get over yourselves either way. Like, no one really has control over other people's body hair, so move on. But the way it says, Mean Girl star 44 flaunted her unshaven pits. Did she flaunt a pit, or did she just have an armpit?
She did. She showed her pit. She wasn't wearing a T-shirt. She got her pit out in a photo shoot and showed everybody her bushy armpit. She's a French exchange student.
The shocking thing, and this is what was explained to me just recently, is that the number of people a number of women who shave top and bottom all over, right, is practically, you'll have to Google it yourself, maybe like 92%, 95% of the population of anybody under 30 years old. They are all completely shaved. You have a problem with it. I do too, because we grew up in a time when that was a little bit dirty. You saw, the hairy bits.
The 70s.
Yeah, the 70s. Yeah, the 60s too. No, not 60s. 70s. Yeah, we saw the hairy bits, and that was like, oh my God, we're not allowed to see that.
So I can't even touch a kiwi fruit now.
But the kids, stop being so funny. The people don't want to see you telling jokes when I'm talking. They don't want to see that.
Anyway, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Thursday's front pages. The Telegraph leads with Russian spy ships threaten to sabotage UK energy supply. The Eye has UK faces 5% interest rates after failing to tame inflation. The Guardian has senior MOJ officials ready to quit if RAB survives bullying inquiry. The Financial Times leads with inflation stuck in double digits offers little hope for end to cost of living crisis. Daily Express has we must unite to protect women's rights. And the Daily Star has the slam dunker, flat earther, the earth's not as flat as we hoped. And those were your front pages. And that's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests Lewis Schaefer and Steve N. Allen. Tomorrow I'll be back hosting with Scott Capurro and Nick Dixon. And remember that if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, stay tuned for the breakfast show just after the break. Bye.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment.
I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
Is the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Dubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit off.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you. She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Dubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
Start the day with GB News.
We catch up on all the big stories you didn't hear the night before.
And take a look at what the world's talking about this morning. That's right, Monday to Thursdays from 6 o'clock. It's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Straight after breakfast, join us, Bev Turner and Andrew Pearce. We're going to take you through till noon.
We'll be tackling the big topics of the day, including the things that the other channels just won't talk about. If it's happening here. Wake up to mornings on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father.